Now, the cash-strapped SAA is now officially under business rescue tonight. The government also having to bail out the national carrier a number of times. Last month, the airline losing billions after workers down tools demanding salary increases. Business reporter Heidi Giokos is following that story. With, I understand, Heidi, the Chief Financial Officer of SAA. Let's pick it up.
Yes, Jeremy, I think it's actually quite confusing what we should refer to Deon Fredericks as, is because he is acting as the CEO currently and not the CFO because the CEO is on leave. But thanks so much for your time. We really do appreciate it. I think if we can just start off with the fact that SAA is currently officially under business rescue, and that means the board no longer has the full power. If you can just speak to us about the fact that the first step has been taken and that SAA is under business rescue.
Yeah, thank you very much for the opportunity, and good evening to the listeners. One of the things that you always want in a business is certainty. I think although business rescue is not always ideal, in terms of the challenges, specifically from a funding perspective we experienced in the last month, business rescue provides us that platform now. Although the board and management is not in control at the end of the day anymore, ultimately they will be integral, involved in making sure in terms of the plan that will be developed, as well as implementation thereof will take place. What we have started proactively as a management team, we have started with a framework document, and when the business rescue practitioner comes in, which we have already appointed, Les Madison, then we will be able to start running immediately. Because of the challenges that we experience, time is money at this stage, and that's why it was important for us to do this as quickly as possible.
Speak to us about the appointment of the business rescue practitioner. How much was SAA involved in that decision making, and why specifically that business practitioner?
We were involved. We had, as you would understand, you would have seen with the announcements that the lenders have agreed to provide $2 billion of funding. The lenders were involved, our legal counsel was involved, and the board was involved. And through that process, we looked at various options, and based on this, we made the selection. I think it's important to say as well, the person will be supported by people that will have international experience on aviation, will also have significant experience in terms of turning businesses around. And it's important for us that we then include everybody in this process.
Well, one would hope that, the business practitioner does have experience, given the fact that this is the first SOE in history that has undergone business rescue. But let's just quickly speak about the union's involvement. I've spoken to Solidarity as well as NUMSA and the South African Cabin Crew Association, and they have indicated that they want to be part of the process and they want to make sure that they are involved, and they also indicated that they want to make sure that they are involved and participate in choosing the business practitioner. But you guys have already taken that step in selecting the specific individual. How much involvement does the union have in terms of this business rescue process that SAA is going to undergo?
Look, in terms of the process, they will be involved. The business rescue practitioner ultimately will involve them, that you will speak to all stakeholders at the end of the day and make sure that everybody's involved. As you would understand, ultimately it will be the creditors that will decide on the plan, but the unions and other related stakeholders will be involved in terms of their inputs as well as the discussions.
But have they been involved to date?
In terms of, I've briefed the unions in terms of what business rescue is all about, what the plans are going forward in terms of the fact that we've appointed or are in the process of appointing a business rescue practitioner. Ultimately, in terms of the Companies Act, it's the role of the board to make that decision.
Okay. Deon, let's talk about the fact that the first order, if I can put it that way, for a practitioner is to look at the financials of SAA. SAA is in a difficult position. You guys have been unable to provide financial statements over the last 2 years. What are you going to present to the business practitioner?
I think ultimately the fact that we don't have signed off financial statements don't mean we have not monthly financials. If you look at the 2017-18, those financials has been finalized. The only outstanding matter is the going concern matter, which we indicated previously. The 2019 financials has also been finalized. The AG to a certain extent have looked at them, but they will have to come back to finalize it on a month-to-month basis. We provide monthly reports to the board, so it's not that there's not financials. There are financials. We proactively have prepared a list in terms of all the critical creditors, because that's what the business practitioner will look at. And we at our initial discussion, we already had a review of the first payments that we made today, as well as tomorrow, when he will make the decision who gets paid and who doesn't get paid. And I think the benefit is there's a moratorium now. So we can actually make sure that everything is done in a proper way going forward, and the business practitioner will have the opportunity to make the right decisions.
Okay, just very quickly, Deon, if you could speak to us about how quick this process is going to be, or how long it's going to take for this business rescue to occur. We do know sometimes it's quite a quick process, but given the state of SAA, what time frame are we looking at?
Yeah, I think it's difficult for me to speak on behalf of the business rescue practitioner, but that's why we started proactively to prepare a plan and to make sure that ultimately that something's put on the table. There is a view that within 25 days that there could be a full draft plan in terms of, and discussions will then take place with creditors. Ultimately, creditors will have to decide if they agree with the plan. 75% of the creditors need to agree with it. And then ultimately we need to make sure that we implement it as soon as possible.
Okay, and then just lastly, you are a consumer-facing business. Customers look at the state of this company. They've noticed that Flight Centre has stopped selling SAA tickets. The company's gone into business rescue at the moment. There was a strike. There was interruptions and delays on certain flights. How are things looking in terms of the business, given the fact that so much has happened in such a short space of time, specifically around ticket sales?
Yeah, I think in terms of ticket sales, currently very, very challenging. We were waiting for the finalization of the process, also of the confirmation for working capital. As we've indicated, we've got 4 billion of working capital that will be managed by the business practitioner at this stage. And we will start through a process now to make sure, because in this business, I agree with you, it's all about trust. You lose trust very quickly. To gain it will take some time. So we will have to accelerate and indicate that we provide excellent service, that currently we're still flying a full schedule, so there's no impact on the schedule at this stage, but ultimately it will be up to the business rescue practitioner to decide how do we go forward.
Okay, quickly, one last question. Do you think there will be any job losses? Will the business practitioner look at the state of the airline and say, we need to cut jobs here?
You will definitely look at it. You will know the Section 189 is on the table. You will continue to look at that. And in terms of the challenges that we have, it may even be much more aggressive.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. We really appreciate your time. Deon Fredericks, who is the acting CEO, but also the interim CFO of SAA, just basically highlighting the state of SAA currently and what the new appointed business practitioner for the business rescue could possibly be looking at, and where the current state of SAA is at the moment. Jeremy.
Thank you very much indeed.